Hi, are you guys, can you hear me? This is good? Okay, good. All right, I think we're going to get started. So if you haven't taken a seat, make yourself comfortable. Sit up front if you can. It feels more intimate so we can all, just have a little chat among friends. That's kind of what this is supposed to be like. Hi, everybody. My name is Angela Johnson. I'm the co-founder here at Fabric, and welcome to Behind the Seams. Before we actually get started with our program and learn from our featured presenter, Rachel, tonight, we're going to go over just a few things about Fabric, just so you have a better understanding of what we do here and how you can take advantage of some of these resources. So, hold on, I'm one-handed here with a mic. All right, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about Fabric first. So Fabric stands for the Fashion and Business Resource Innovation Center. That's an acronym. That's how we came up with the word Fabric. And it's basically a fashion incubator. It's a business accelerator. It's a design studio. It's an educational facility. It's an event space. It's so many things to so many people. And the idea here is that if you're starting a clothing brand and you need resources, you should be able to find them here. We tried to put everything under one roof so that you didn't have to go running around all over LA or New York to find everything that you need. And it's kind of like having an entire industry under one roof. We are a nonprofit, and our mission is to provide apparel entrepreneurs with training and guidance and innovative industry resources and access to no minimum and on-demand manufacturing so they can build sustainable fashion businesses domestically. So what that means is we want to use technology to bring fashion into the 21st century, make it more efficient, more affordable, and encourage domestic manufacturing so that small brands can make their clothes here and they don't have to overproduce overseas and end up with excess inventory that gets burned or put in a landfill somewhere and made by a sweatshop. We just want to do it right in a modern way for the modern apparel entrepreneur. So we have all kinds of physical resources here. You're sitting in our event space, and I'll tell you about that in a minute, but we have online resources too. And all you have to do is have to become a free member to access those resources. We try to give as much as we possibly can to the community. And as you saw in the previous slide, we've given a lot. We've actually been able to provide over $6.8 million in free and discounted programs and services to the community since 2016. So that takes a community effort. We have a lot of volunteers. In fact, some of them are sitting here tonight and helped us set this space up. So if you ever want to be a volunteer, we would love your help to do things like help at events or paint a wall or teach a class or literally anything. But a lot of the resources that you might want to use as a free member are located on our website. And as a free member, you can put your business in our business directory for free. So if you have a fashion business, it's free advertising for you. You can also find fashion businesses there too. So if you are looking for a designer, a model, a hairstylist, a makeup artist, anybody, that is where you'll find them. We also have a classifieds page. So if you are looking for a job or you're posting a job, I know somebody who's looking to hire, and her listing is in the directory or in the classifieds right now. That's where you can find a fashion job or post a fashion job. There's also a free events calendar. So all the events that we know about are listed there. So you can find things to attend like this or to participate in. If you're a brand and you would like to be on a runway, go find an event on the events calendar and ask them if you can be part of their show. There is a newsletter that we send out once a month, and it tells you about everything we know about that we think will help you as a business. If we know of a grant, if we know of a class, if we know of an event that you should participate in, all you have to do is read that newsletter, and that's how you're going to stay up to date about all the things that could help you grow your business, and a lot more resources as well. Then if you're going to make clothing, if you're starting a brand and you actually want to manufacture, you need to know some things before you actually walk into a factory, hold up a garment and say, how much is this going to cost and how long is it going to take to make? Because a factory cannot answer those questions. They can't until they have a lot more knowledge about your garment. They need to know the ins and outs of it. You need to have a role in that process in being able to develop your product and get it through pattern making and sample sewing and sourcing of your materials and trims. And usually, if you're going to rely on a factory to do all of that for you, they're going to own your intellectual property. That means you're kind of stuck with them. And if you're not happy and you want to go someplace else, you have to start from scratch again. Who knows where they got your fabric? They're not going to tell you that. They're not going to hand you your pattern and let you take it with you someplace else. So we want to make sure that you know what you're doing and that you can actually contract out each one of those services, own the intellectual property that goes with it, have everything that you need, like tech packs, production-ready patterns that are graded, that are ready to be cut and sewn, sew-by samples of the exact thing that that factory needs to copy and everything. And then we provide you with no minimum manufacturing here so that you can test the market and make 12 or 20 or 100, whatever it is that you want, to give it a shot and see if this is even a viable product. And if people start liking it and you start growing, you have everything you need to actually grow and find a factory that specializes in what you're making and get a reduced rate because now you're making 500 of them instead of 20 of them. So that's the idea of this place. So the way that we make sure you know what you're doing is we provide you with the education. That's our main service here at Fabric. And we do that through a virtual roadmap. So what you're looking at there is all of the things within our roadmap. Our roadmap gives you hundreds of resources. It's basically my brain downloaded into this learning management software. I spent the entire pandemic filming videos and uploading instructions and creating documents and contracts and things. And so if you've never done this before, you don't have to hire a production manager, you don't have to hire a technical designer, you don't have to hire a quality control manager, you don't have to hire a business coach, you don't have to hire a branding expert. All of that's built in there so that you can do it yourself. And all you have to do is pay for the making of the clothes. That's the idea. So if you're going to work with us, you need to be part of the roadmap. There is a fee for the roadmap, but we scholarship majority of people into it because we want to help disadvantaged entrepreneurs. And most of us are disadvantaged these days. Whether it's a financially disadvantaged that you have, maybe you're not making enough to survive at the moment because of the pandemic, maybe you're a minority, maybe you have a disability, maybe you're a veteran. There's all kinds of reasons that you could qualify for a scholarship. And we give out hundreds of scholarships every year into this roadmap. So that's the biggest thing that we're giving. Oh yay, we're gonna do official photos. Thanks, Wendy. Now, who's going to take your picture? Okay. All right. Our next designer in waiting, I guess, I don't know what you call her, is Samantha. But Samantha, last minute, had an emergency, so she couldn't make it. But let's give Samantha an applause, too. All right. Our next graduate is Kimberly Warmack. Kimberly. Congrats, Kim. Her plan is to make adaptive clothing. So when people come here, the best thing is to specialize in something, to make something that's filling a void out in the marketplace. That way you can, produce something that isn't already out there. That's the best plan for any kind of business. All right, our next graduate is Nelijah Wilkes. Nelijah, come on up. All right, and last but not least is Wendy Saunders. Thanks for taking those photos. We cheated, and we had a little graduation ceremony the other night, but we didn't have these printed on fabric, so I wanted to do it again in front of you guys. I love it. Well, thanks you guys for being our first set of people who went through the program and let us try it out on you. Okay, let me pull up my slideshow so I know what's next. All right, okay. So before we start, the last thing I want to ask is if all of you tonight could make a small donation. Really, anything helps, even $5. I mean, this is how we're able to do what we normally do. And like I said, we're having trouble renting event space during a COVID and a post-COVID world. People are afraid of coming back to events. So if you could take a moment, make a small donation to Fabric, that helps all these amazing entrepreneurs be able to continue to do what they've been doing and allow us to be able to advance what we're doing and reach more people around the world. We've actually been able to help 800 apparel entrepreneurs since we opened this place up. So it's making a big impact, and we just want to keep doing that. So your donation is really, really helpful, and thank you so much for doing that. We really appreciate it. All right, without further ado, the whole reason that we're here tonight is because every month, on the last Thursday of every month, we have this event called Behind the Scenes. And the idea for this event is that we get to hear somebody's journey who is an expert in their field, somebody who's a fashion professional, somebody who's been there and done that. Whether it's somebody in retail, somebody in technical design, somebody in fashion show production, whatever it is, they all have a journey and they all have a story and they all have something to share, to teach you. So we wanted to bring in these people so they could not only tell their journeys, you can hear what it took, because everybody's journey is different. I think sometimes you think, oh, there's a certain way you got to do it, and you have to go major in a certain thing in school, and you have to have led this perfect life to get to be what you want to be. But no, every single story has been completely different. Some people started out with this trajectory that they knew what they were going to do and took every fashion-related business course and class possible, and other people didn't know until they grew up, So it's important to hear those stories, and then to have that person give you a little bit of advice, tips, tricks, things that they've learned along the way is education that is so valuable, because you're hearing it from the horse's mouth. I don't want to call you a horse, but from the person who's been there, done that, and done it really well. So I'm really excited about, I just jumped ahead. I'm really excited about tonight's speaker, because not only is she an amazing entrepreneur that has done what a lot of people haven't been able to do, and that is to sustain a business through the pandemic, but beyond, because she's been in business for 14 years with an amazing boutique, but she's also a really good friend that I'm really proud to be interviewing today. So let's give a round of applause to Rachel Malloy of Bunky Boutique. Okay, so the way that this is going to work is,
Testing. Okay, we're good. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so we're gonna put our mouths as close as possible, because everybody can hear us, right? Okay. Okay, first thing is we're gonna ask Rachel just to tell us her story. What was it like when you were a kid? What led you to this mission? What was your childhood like? Whether it had anything to do with fashion or not, just tell us your story.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Montana, which is not the fashion capital of the world, shockingly. But I actually never really was. I was into fashion in a way that every little kid kind of is, but so that's a beautiful picture of Montana right there. And then that picture is me with my little going to grandma's suitcase. So I was super close with my grandmother, and her name is Bunky, and that's who my shop is named after, Bunky Boutique. And she, I guess maybe showed me different things in life, right? She would take me traveling places when, she could afford it, and just kind of would show me that it can be different, right? Montana's a pretty conservative place, especially in the 80s. So it was everyone needs that person that is hey, it doesn't have to be this way. And she was very much that to me. And then I also, I had no plans to go into fashion. So my college degree is in psychology. And I did social work right out of out of college, excuse me. So I was a domestic violence and sexual assault advocate. And I did that work for 2 years right out of college. And then I started working on Sundays at a boutique, just for extra money. I was making nothing, and
Okay, so you decided to do that because just financial reasons, just to kind of have that second job.
Financial reasons, and I went from Montana to Key West, Florida, because of a relationship, the tale as old as time, but, and yeah, I just needed more money. I just needed a second job. So, and also I was discount would be great for this boutique that I can't afford, and so the extra money went to shopping there. It was all a total wash, and I don't know. But I loved it. and it was this great second job. And then the owners of that opened another location up the Keys and another location in Cape May, New Jersey. And so I got to see them open businesses. And that was what sort of clicked for me of like, oh, I think I want a business. It was maybe more that than like fashion. It was just, I want to like create my own life, and I want to decide my day, and I want to decide my life, basically.
Your own boss.
Yeah, I did want to be my own boss, which turns out is really hard to, because you still have to work. Like that part, I was like, oh, okay. Still have to work really hard, even if you don't have a boss. But
before you move on, let's talk about that, because I think that's something that everybody needs to realize when they start a business is you think, it sounds really great because you're at this 9 to 5, and that's a lot of time, and then you go to become an entrepreneur and it's 24 hours a day. You know what I mean? It's not just 9 to 5. You look back on the 9 to 5 and you're like, that was really easy. So I think that was an important point.
I mean, it is true, but what you said is so true. It is more work, but man, I would not trade it for anything. There's no way I could go back to a job.
That's the thing, is it's something that you love to do. So when you're becoming an entrepreneur, pick something that you love, because you'd be doing it whether you get paid for it or not. So if you have to do it 24 hours a day, you might as well get paid for it.
Yeah, and I realize I kind of have a skill in just I don't know how to describe, making sure balls don't drop. Does that make sense? I can just kind of make sure things go okay, and I don't think I'm particularly skilled in one particular thing. I envy all of you that are I want to design, and you have visions, and I'm just kind of I think I can make it all sort of work. But I'm that's okay, that's a skill, and longevity, it's been 14 years, that in itself is a skill, so, but yeah, the top picture, you're right, is my grandmother and I at a Broadway show, and my other mentor was my Uncle Tim, and he was a choreographer and dancer on Broadway, and that's me and him, and he was the other person that just, showed me just life, diversity, gayness, just everything that I was oh, okay, I need to get out of Montana, I need to go and live differently, right? And he had this saying, and it was, "Seem a dream, prove it real." And I didn't understand that at all until he passed away when I was 25, right before I opened the shop, and he was 41. And then it clicked. When he passed away, I was oh, just stop waiting, right? And so that was a big inspiration for me to open the store, because I was 25. I had $29,000 to open the business. That's the money I had sourced, and so I was
Wait,
okay.
Back that up.
Sorry.
You were how old?
25.
And you had $29,000?
Yes. Well, that is.
What was I doing at 25?
Yes. So that is not. And this is it's going to sound like a downer thing, but my mom passed away when I was 13 months, and so her Social Security accrued, and so when I turned 18, there was here's $29,000 from her life or whatever, and so do what you want with it, basically. And so, I went to college and got loans and all that, and then I had this money, and that's what I decided to do with it.
And you didn't spend it between 18 and 25?
No, I don't know. Because it was meaning. It had this I need to do something with this that's meaningful, I guess. So it always sat with me as I don't know what to do with this. Maybe I'll go back to school. Maybe but yeah, it had kind of earmarked for something important, I guess. Yeah, which on one hand, I guess I'm lucky I had 29,000, but I don't know. I guess I could have gotten a loan. That would have been tricky. But 29,000 does not go a long way when you open a business. And this is 2007, and then the economy crashed in 2009. And I didn't have an employee for 4.5 years. I worked the shop every day. You remember, like, I was just always there. Like, I felt like groundhog, like, I just live behind this desk, this counter, like, all times. Like, this is where you can find me. But yeah, anyways, I got a little off, but yeah.
Well, okay, so that's your
Yes.
uncle, and then you ended up working at that store. That's the
Yeah,
one,
so that's
right?
me in Key West on my friend's boat. And then the other shop called Caroline Boutique, that's in Cape May, New Jersey, and that was the other store that I worked at. And this was a decade later, I went back and like visited.
Aw.
So it was just like my first job, and she still owns the store. She's been doing it 30 years. So yeah, it was just like, you know, shop girl life is what we called it. Like, it's just this very specific world when you work retail, but specifically like a small boutique. It's, yeah, you're kind of a shop girl.
She was kind of an inspiration for you too then, because this person
Yeah,
has
and-
successfully run a boutique.
And she was like you in a way, as far as she did not like gatekeep information. She was very much like, here's how I do it. And like, you know, I have a list. I mean, you know, remember this was like no one was buying anything online. So she's like, here's my binder, and here's all of their phone numbers and their email, like just here's information, which a lot of people aren't like that with information. They tend to hoard it. But you're not like, that's why I said she's like you, like just very much like here, like there's enough for all of us. Like,
7 billion people on the planet. There's
Yeah.
enough for all of us to share.
yeah, there's enough, yeah, yes.
Well, you mentioned your grandma.
Yeah. Yes.
So her name was Bunky. Her first name?
Yeah, so her given name is Dolores, but she went by Bunky since she was born. I guess there was a cartoon in the newspaper in the 30s where the main character was Bunky, and so her dad just started calling her that. So she only went by that. Yeah, so I named it after her as like she didn't know it, I surprised her with it. She lived in Montana and like came down to visit, and I was like, what do you think of my business cards I'm trying out? And it was like her name and everything, and yeah, so it was really fun. But I also thought the word was cool. Like, it is like a thing to honor her, but it also is just like a weird kind of, I wanted a word that didn't, I don't know, just kind of meaningless in a way, and it felt very gender neutral to me too. Like, and a lot of people can kind of ascribe with their own like thoughts to the word. Yeah, and of course the alliteration was nice with Bunky Boutique, which I wanted to have boutique in the name. I didn't love how it sounded. It's a little like cheesy. I was worried about that, but I think it's nice to just say what it is sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, just let people know they want to expect something. They want to know what they're going into, walking into. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's so sweet. She must have cried when she saw those business cards.
Yeah, she totally did. She was like, I want to wallpaper my bathroom with these. I was like.
I was really close to my grandma too.
Oh,
so,
yeah, I remember that.
A lot of people that I've interviewed up here have said the same thing, that their grandmother was their inspiration. It's interesting how that
Is cool.
happens.
Yeah, I don't
love
know.
that.
That's about.
And then in your journey, what was the next step of your journey?
Oh yeah, so that is that's Jim. That's my ex-husband, now best friend. But I put that slide up there because we spent a lot of time in New York, and he's just been like my number one fan, and also like super creative and really helpful as far as like he can envision trends, and I still go to him for that, like, because you need those people in your life, right? Like, I cannot see a trend if it's like smacking me in the face. Like, I just don't. I'm like, oh, okay, I see it like later, which is fine because like that's fine. But if you have other people in your life that can kind of be like, hey, I think this thing's coming down the pipeline. Like, he's very into streetwear and just things that are helpful for me, like, creatively.
Right.
So, yeah, I kind of just put him there as, like, it's okay to not be good at maybe even the thing you think you should be good at if you have, like, the right team, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't do it all. You can't be an expert in everything.
Yeah.
So it's perfect. You just
Yeah.
bring in the experts. And
Yes.
if you're related to one, that helps.
Yes, absolutely, yes, yeah.
And he is really cool. I think he is like a trendsetter. And other than having people there to tell you what the trends are, your other option when you own a store or you start a clothing line is subscribing to forecasting services, and they charge you thousands of dollars to tell you what the trends are going to be. Like these things are $10,000 a season for the big one. And so most people can't afford that kind of stuff. So it's really helpful to kind of get somebody in your life that can tell you or knows, a little bit about how cycles work in fashion and why things come in and out and what affects those things. So
because it is important. I always was of the mindset of like, who cares? I don't care what's trendy. Like, I like what I like. I want to do what I want to do, and which I think that is true. But things are cyclical, and you can't help but like have to, subscribe to them a little bit. So it's like a balance, right? Yeah. Yeah.
All right, tell us about what we're seeing here.
So this was a business class it was a 2-year program that I did, and it was through APS, and they used to do this like free business mentorship program. They don't do it anymore because whatever, nothing's like free like it should be, and like it is here, and like, But the reason I put that slide up was it taught me to actually slow down and work, that phrase we've all heard, like on my business, not just in my business. And it was like the first time I started hearing that stuff of like, okay, wait a second, like I can strategize even though I'm not making any money. Like, I always thought you have to be to this like certain level before you make a plan, or like, why do I need to delve into my financials? I know they're not great. Like, I don't really, like, what is there to look at? But actually, like, all of that is very important. So this, like, 2 years was, like, very much like a reflection time for, like, the business and myself, and do I even want this anymore? And just, like, reevaluating. And just the importance of mentorship, too. Like, the woman that's on my left, your right, she was just this mentor, and she would have this phrase, open the kimono, and it was just about being vulnerable. And like I think of that to this day, So yeah, just the importance of mentorship, and just to like ask, like if there's someone out there that you think you would love to hear from them or have them mentor you, like they might say no, but I don't know, the ask is pretty exciting in itself. Yeah.
Hurt to ask either.
Yeah,
Even if they do say no.
Yeah.
And they're probably saying no because they're just really busy. It's nothing against you,
Yeah, and just like energetically, like you putting that out there, like maybe that made them feel great, or they, like you just don't know where it's gonna go.
And most people are probably gonna say yes because most people they feel rewarded when they help other people, and so they want to share what they already know. So it's amazing to help somebody, but like she said, just ask and find free resources. So the fact that you went to that free thing, you probably learned a lot of stuff that you didn't have to pay for. And there's free resources everywhere, you guys. I mean, it's not just in our roadmap and things like that. If you go to the Small Business Association, there's all kinds of free help for you there. Through Local First, there's all kinds of free help for you there. There's just all kinds of different places that you can find that kind of help, and people too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yep.
So now let's get into the opening of the store. So you had done that lesson after you had been in business for a little while,
Yeah, I guess
right?
we kind of mixed our slides up a little bit.
That's okay. So I think that was important just to say, you had been in business, you were contemplating whether even to stay in business and kind of thinking that way. Everybody does that throughout your business. It's like you get to a point where you're exhausted, or you're out of money, or you're just, whatever challenge it is that you're trying to overcome, and you have to question, what's my next move? And so it's not right or wrong, and you have to make those decisions. So I'm glad you shared that, and then you learned the tools to be able to continue on. So what year did you open up your first store?
2007.
Okay, and that was located.
So I don't know if you all are familiar with downtown Phoenix, but I was in an alley between 5th and 6th Street south of Roosevelt. But that's an alley. That's not that's not street side, at all.
And the other thing is, downtown Phoenix didn't look like it does now. Like, this was when everybody was thinking about making downtown Phoenix what it is, and the First Fridays was down there, so only once a month did 10,000 people go down there for fashion shows in the dirt and art shows on the sidewalk, but other than that, there was nothing else going on, but a lot of like scary things, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, so the signage was budget. I didn't have money for a sign, so like friends just did that. And I also think I needed a permit, and I was like, I don't want to deal with any of this. Like, no thanks. And my little A-frame for a sign, oh God, it wasn't even my logo. It was just like the plain, I don't know, stock. Like, yeah, it was like said Bunky, but it was just like didn't match anything. But I don't know, it was organic and fun and scary.
Authentic.
What's that?
Authentic.
Yeah, no, it was super authentic, yes. Yes. And I was only there for about a year and a half. You can't tell, but that's on a little bit of a slope. And so when it rains, the water drained into the store. And there was like just a lot of issues like that. So I moved after the first year to that other location, which was only a block and a half away, 3rd Street between Garfield and McKinley. And that was an old house, and it was super charming, and I really enjoyed it and like loved it there. And I was next to Roosevelt Tavern at the time, so a bar, and that was good for business. So that was like a little bit of strategy, right? Okay, this business is open. They didn't open till 5, so not the best like strategy in retrospect. Like a daytime thing would have been better, but still. And that was charming and good.
That reminds me, I've been wanting to ask any store owner this question for so long, so maybe you can give me the answer to it. When you're next to a place that is hopping at night, why don't you have night hours?
So people love to come in and look and spill their drink and then like tell you how much they love everything and then like not
throw
buy
up on it and walk out.
Right. I think what it is it's like they're out. They don't want to carry something. They're not in like the mindset to like actually purchase, which is fine if you have enough staff and bandwidth to like, oh, it's okay, it's mostly marketing and they'll come back, right? Like that's fine. I think it was just me at the time still. So I just it was like I had to pick and choose. I also noticed I did stay open until 7 then, so that 5 to 7. But after 7, it's like everyone is just in a different like headspace.
Did it help between 5 and 7? Did you get some traffic from the bar?
Yeah, I would get, it would, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I've just always been curious about this because I'm always like, when you're out at night and all the stores are closed, like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, let's shop, you know?
Yeah, and maybe there is like market for that. I don't know. That is interesting. I don't really know. That spot was cool because it was like it had like a yard, and I very first started doing events there. I would do like little markets in the yard, and we would do some of those in the evening, and that was really fun. But then it got like crazy. Like ASU opened downtown, and so just like construction everywhere. The light rail started opening or being built. Yeah. So there was a period of time, there was 6 months where you couldn't get to my store. Like you physically, unless you parked and walked like through construction, like it was I know. But I stayed open because like, I don't know, someone would find me every once in a while. And that was 2009. And that year, I remember it, February 2009, I almost didn't pay March rent. Like that was the month where I'm like, I don't, like, it's not like I don't want to do it. I'm like, I can't do it. And I somehow like made it through March. And then I got the opportunity so I've had 4 locations, to move a 3rd time. And that kind of like saved my business, was that move. I don't think I would have made it like had I stayed where I was.
I actually remember the construction now that you tell me that, because I actually was selling my clothes at her store. She carried my collection back then.
Yeah.
And I remember coming to bring stuff to the store, and I was like, how do I get to your store?
How I was like,
here?
That's you and everyone, that's a problem. This is a big issue.
A lot of memories.
And there wasn't, it was not at all, there was no like Shopify or Squarespace, so I wasn't selling anything online. Like I turned my what was before Facebook?
MySpace?
I turned my MySpace page into like first name Bunky, last name Boutique. And like just had a MySpace where I would like post a picture of something on for sale. Yeah.
That was brilliant, actually, back then.
Thank you. And then I did that with Facebook too. And then like, because like, I don't know, I mean, this was not to sound old, I don't care if I sound old, but not to be like boring old, but like, I mean.
Not to be boring old, just old.
Well, like, you know, I would print out flyers and just take them around and to coffee shops and be like, here's my business, which I still think is a good idea.
There's something to be said about
am
that.
like stand by that even today.
Yep.
Like, cause
tangible in your face.
Yes.
You can carry it. Yeah, it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So then I moved to my third location, which was next door to a coffee shop. So I learned to be next to a business that was open during the day. So it was maybe like a slow learner, but.
And this was on Central, right? Or
First Street in McDowell.
Oh, First Street, okay.
Yeah, so right by the Phoenix Art Museum and the library, if anyone's familiar with that. But yeah. So that was great. I almost shared a space with the coffee shop, so it was like Phoenix's version of walk by traffic at the time. It was still difficult, but there was just more bodies then, which is what I really needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how about moving? I mean,
okay, moving's a good thing. I stand by moving is always a good thing, because like
stressful.
Well, it is stressful, and I think it
Expensive.
scares people. Like I'm gonna lose people in the process, but I never found that. I always found like I gained customers, just because you get like a round of buzz. Hey, this shop's doing a thing. Like oh, we don't care about that shop. They've been around a while, but they're moving. So now here's like we'll do a little blurb about it. And it's a reason to have an event. And it's just something that, like creates interest again.
That's a good learning opportunity here. So when she's saying, what she's talking about is press coverage. And most media companies, most publications need a reason to write a story about you. So when you start a clothing brand, you can't just write a press release and be like, I started a clothing brand and I make this, because that's not newsworthy. There needs to be something that's benefiting the community in some way. What is so special about you creating, this entity? And so any kind of newsworthy thing, like somebody moving, or I'm donating proceeds to this foundation, or I'm having a party, or I'm doing something for the community can benefit by, is really like a newsworthy kind of story. So when you're writing press releases and trying to get stories, think about that. And getting authentic press for a story for something that you're doing is a lot better than paying for advertising. First of all, you don't have to pay for it. Second, it's much more authentic. I mean, somebody's singing your praises, not you telling everybody how wonderful you are by placing an ad. It's somebody else saying, this place is wonderful, we're writing a story about them. So you want to get as much press coverage as you can, and so that makes a lot of sense, that when you moved, that's another story. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about it.
Yeah. It was beneficial every time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, good. Okay. So, what's that?
So in 2009, we started an in-house brand, and while that image looks like super like everyone's doing that, it really wasn't then. Like there wasn't as much desert, Arizona, Phoenix pride. There was a lot of like, I want to move to Portland, I want to move to New York. Like it just didn't have that feel that it does now, which is awesome that it's like that now. But I think a lot of us were like sick of that. Like, okay, like then leave, like whatever. But this is actually great for a lot of reasons. So my friend Chris Nieto just sketched that out one day, and just kind of like for fun, and I was like, I should put that on a t-shirt, like I wonder, and it like really exploded. Just that simple line drawing, I think the hand drawing was really nice, and that he did it sort of in all one movement. It just felt like, I think the organicness like translated to the design, because it's very simple, and now it's been done like State 48, like it's all over the place, which is awesome. I had a lot of people like, you should trademark that or whatever, and like, first of all, it's really hard to trademark a state and like why, but it also felt a little like hoarding, like why, like what am I trying to do here? Like this is actually like the purpose is I don't know, just pride of place. So but that was great, and it was we weren't making we were screen printing. It's a very different thing than what y'all are doing here. Like but still, like it was something and it was ours. And that's when I learned, like, you do not screen print and just leave the tag next level on the back. Like, just horrible idea. Like, immediately you need to have your own screen printed, tag at the neck, having something under the seam, like, such a good idea, just whatever. And so we decided to do, like, small said, like, be here now. Mediums had, like, you're beautiful. Like, each size just said something different, So that was when I realized, like, oh man, like, every little detail goes such a long way. They're also really, really soft shirts and, like, more expensive, but I have realized men in particular, and I'm generalizing, and cis men in particular, if it's a super soft shirt, they're like, well, okay. Like, they don't really even care much, like, sometimes what's on it. They're just like, I want that. Like, that's a really soft thing. So that was just, like, a photo shoot we did for Phoenix Magazine, I think. Yeah.
One of the things that you just said about, like, having to own that image brings up another thing that I think is a good learning experience, which Wendy brought up in our School of Frock camp that we just had, and was asking, a lot of people ask, do I need to own this? Do I need a copyright or trademark or whatever, patent, whatever? And every entrepreneur, like, that has been successful will tell you probably the same thing, and it's just a quote that I made up to like, vocalize this, and it's, I always say, be the Kleenex of tissues. And what I mean by that is, instead of spending all the money to own that, and there's a lot of money and a lot of time and effort that goes into that, and anybody could take what you just copyrighted or patented or whatever and tweak it just a little bit and do the same thing anyways. Just do it the best, do it first, be known for it so that everybody calls it whatever your business is. So, you pick up a tissue and you call it Kleenex, you put on a Spanx, and even if it's not made by Spanx, you call it Spanx, So if you're the first one that's doing it and you're known for it, then that's it right there. Everybody wants yours anyways. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you said that.
That's such a great point. Yeah, I remember when I realized Kleenex wasn't, like, that it was just the brand name. I was like, that's amazing. Like, they did a really good job. Plus, it's so expensive to trademark something, and it's even more expensive to defend it. So, like, even if I had it trademarked and then I saw someone doing the exact same thing, I don't have the money to, like, do anything about that. Like, there was this shop in Flagstaff that they copied not these designs, other designs, like, almost exact, but certain little things were off. And I was like, I emailed them, whatever, and, like, could you not do that, whatever. But then I was like, I don't know, it's flattery too. Like, it's cool, like, it's okay, and I don't know, the longer you do something, the more you just chill about everything.
That's the other thing. It's the biggest form of flattery when somebody's doing that.
I try to use that with shoplifting too. I try to be like, okay, flattered, thank you.
It's so funny that you said that about Flagstaff, because one of my illustrations, my fashion illustrations, I found on a store in Flagstaff on buttons. Somebody had taken my fashion illustrations and made buttons out of them and were selling
What's
them.
What's going on at Flagstaff?
I don't know. Around the same time, probably.
Probably.
Mid 2000 something.
That's funny.
That's really funny. All right, next part of your journey.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Yep. So, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, opened a location in Phoenix Sky Harbor. And this was, like, the very first meeting I had with the city. It took 3 full years for the store to, like, open. And this is not like I'm open with this information. I don't own the store. I have a partnership with a company called Hudson Group. You've probably seen, like, Hudson News or that kind of thing. So they operate it, and I designed it, and then I pick everything that's in it. So all the product is still what I want in it, but I don't actually, like, operate the store. Yeah.
Nice.
It's good, and it has so it's a licensing agreement, so I get, like, a percentage of gross sales. This is me opening the kimono, right, by the way. Like, I'm just like, whatever. Like, it's just fine.
That's why I love these behind the scenes.
Yeah. So it's good because I have really low risk, but it's bad I don't make as much as I could if I were, like, if it was mine or if it was, like, a joint venture. But it was really great during the pandemic when we were closed for 2 years. And while I made zero money, I didn't lose any money there. So like it ended up being a good move, but I also don't have the control I'd like.
But you also don't have all the heartache and headache and all the work and everything.
I mean, yes and no. I still do the buying, so that's still like a lot of work. And I also like don't have control over like, I'm saying like a lot all of a sudden, I apologize, over staffing. And when someone isn't, what I want to be, I don't have the ability to really do much about it. So, but that's just like a lesson in any like business decision, right? Like it was I weighed the risks, and I financially could not have opened a store in the airport. Like it was this or kind of nothing. But it's been overall a positive experience, and the city really wanted local businesses in the airport here, and they really pushed for it.
So did you get approached by the city?
I did.
How that happened?
Yes,
okay.
I did.
That's cool.
Yeah. So approached by the city, and then they have actually anyone. So if anyone wants like resources for getting their goods in the airport, the businesses there are wanting local goods, but they don't really know how to source well. There's a lot of buyers there that just don't really know how to do it. So
and they should be carrying all these local designers' stuff in the local airport.
Yeah, yes. So if anyone wants like emails of certain people, I would totally share that.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
We'll share that in the roadmap so everybody knows who to contact. And I mean, there's so many cool things that are like very obviously Southwest or, native or, have pride about Arizona or whatever that could be quick sellers in the airport.
Yeah, and so my airport store is definitely different than my downtown store as far as what sells.
Right.
Because people just want, stuff they want souvenirs, basically. Or they forgot their hoodie. Or like, it's been such a learning experience of like, okay, makes sense. Or people want like big scarves because they forgot a pillow.
Neck pillows.
Yeah, I don't sell the neck pillows because I haven't found any that I'm like, those fit, but I would. I'm not above it.
Okay, guys, somebody design the neck pillow that she wants to carry.
Seriously,
in that store.
I would for sure carry like a really interesting, yes.
Yes, your stuff should be in there, actually. Jessica Starr has these Cool You Now scarves that cool you. Those should actually be in the airport because they're getting off the plane into this hot weather, and they should be walking out wearing one of her scarves.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Yes, we need that contact information.
On it.
All right, and then...
Okay, so this is my most recent location, and I signed a 10-year lease, so I'm here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And it's been almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in November. Roosevelt and Central, downtown Phoenix. Kind of like what I never thought would actually happen when you saw the first like alley store. I mean, it's only 3 blocks away from my first location. So it was sort of like 12 years later or 11 years later coming back to, I don't know, it was just very surreal.
But it's a way different place down there now.
It's a way different place, yeah. And my shop is way different, Like that's the thing is you have to sell what your customers want and ask them what they want. I don't know. I spent a lot of time being like trying to figure out what people want to buy, and then it was like, oh, well, I should really ask them. Like that's the simplest thing. And I mean like sending out a survey to my newsletter, but also just like straight up asking customers when they're in the store. Like anything, if they're seeming friendly with me and they're like, I love your shop, or just any kind of conversation. I'm like, that's awesome. Like anything you would like to see that you didn't, or I don't know. It's just like the best, most fast feedback ever.
That's a good idea. It's always those simple things, like
I
handing
know.
out flyers and just asking people
Right.
things.
And and then fall 22, which is soon, opening a location in Gilbert. And this one is all me. So this will be my second, my money I took out an SBA loan. I'm going for it. But I'm pretty excited about it. I don't know a lot about Gilbert. I'm learning. So if anyone is Gilbert person and then can help me, but it seems to be a very growing place.
Is there a reason? Is that the reason that you chose
Yeah,
that?
so second highest income zip code in the valley right now is in Gilbert. Average age is like 33. So there was just demographic stuff that really made sense for me. Also the development, I really like what they do. So I wanted to work with those developers because I like the stuff that they've done. Like, it's super high end and high quality, and they care. It's like Joe's Farm Grill, like Agritopia. It's like that group of people. I don't know if you're familiar. I'm learning about Gilbert, but yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Real quick, I want to just ask you, back on your downtown store, that is right in the heart of First Fridays. So I'm going to go back to that question I had asked before. Is there a reason that you're not open in the evening on First Fridays?
Yeah, so First Fridays when I first opened kept me afloat. It paid my rent every month, like 2007 to 2010, like fully paid my rent. But it was so stressful, and just that many bodies through your store, like, you know, it's just so many people, like things get broken, things get stolen, it's chaotic, right? And First Fridays has shifted over the years. It's less organic. It's a lot more kids. So I opened a few times at this location for First Friday, and I regretted it. I don't have, like, I need someone at the door, behind the counter, walking. I don't have the staff for it, or the patience, I've realized. Like, I'm just like, why are you touching that? Like, I've just realized my, like, whoa, like, okay, I've been doing this a long time, but, like, it's overwhelming. And I get, that's my thing. Like, I get territorial over my shop, and I'm like, I don't want, you know, like, I want it to be appreciated, and maybe,
It is one of those kind of, it's a very similar kind of audience opening up next to a bar. I mean, it's a bunch of young, you know, crazy kids, so it's almost like a bunch of drunk adults. It's like the same type of thing where you're like, oh my God, don't spill on that or whatever. Yeah. So I get it. I was just curious. I figured that was the answer, but every time I go to First Fridays, we pass, and all the people I'm with, I'm like, this is my friend's store, and they're like, we want to go in. I'm like, I don't know why it's not open, so now I know.
Yes, I know. Maybe someday I'll give it a go again, and then I'll regret it.
Well, I always force all of the people who I interview to brag a little bit about themselves and tell us some of the awards and achievements that they've been able to get over the years, and these are just a few. So do you want to share some of these?
Yeah, just, I mean, you know, the travel and leisure thing was, like, super cool, and they, like, came into, like, a photo shoot, and that was so fun and awesome. And then the best ofs through Phoenix Magazine are super cool because a lot of those are like the voted ones from, it's not just their staff, it's like the people's ones, and I never, like, promote those. So, because I always want to see if I get them without being like, hey, friends, like, do this thing. And then the New Times, the New Times has, you know, they've done that for years. It used to be the big book, and you'd be so excited to get it and, like, see what was in it, and now, you know, I think it's all online. But and then USA Today was cool. Like, Best Airport Shop was really a cool thing. And I think there's been some more. I don't know. Oh, and the magazine cover was, like, right before print died. But it was, like, this funnest photo shoot, and I got to, like, walk around Phoenix, and it was just really a cool time downtown, you know? Which it's seeing again. It's, like, kind of in the, it's cyclical, right? Like, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on all those things. How did travel and leisure find you? Do you know?
I think, yes, I do know. So Cindy Dash, who does Roosevelt Row and Maid, I think she put me in touch with them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool. It is really helpful to network. That's what we're doing tonight. All right. And the last thing, Rachel said she wanted to share some, you know, tips and advice and things that she thought would be helpful for you guys. So these are a couple of things if you want to share.
Yeah, so those books, The Artist's Way is one of my favorite books, and the main thing I got out of that book was, it's called Morning Pages, and it's like, write 3 pages every morning, and like write fiction, literally write a to-do list, or write this same word over and over again if you're just feeling crazy. Like, just get out stuff, and then it usually leads to more than 3 pages, and it usually leads to creativity or just feeling calmer. And it's just like that thing, like, oh, I can do 3 pages. You know, it's like when you're running and you're like, I can run to that tree, and then you like keep running past the tree. It's like kind of like that. So, but I love the artist way, and you're all artists, so you would get it. And then the E-Myth, maybe anyone, have you read that one? So it's really that, like, get out, work on your business, not in your business, and, you know, who are you? Are you the person that likes, like the technician? Are you the person that likes to be in there, like, baking the bread? And that's okay, because then you need to find the other people. Maybe you want to work in your business, actually, because that's what you like to do. And maybe you're like a big picture person, and it's just like finding out who you are in relation to your business. And then free game is, and I can link that to you or whatever. But so the designer, he passed away, Virgil Abloh. He was the head designer for Louis Vuitton, and he recently died. But he left this, he knew he was dying of cancer, and he like left this wealth of information, and it's just this simple link, and it's like, here's how you do everything. And it's just so cool and wild, and I mean, and it's like specific, like, here's a place to source t-shirts, here, like, very specific. So it's just this really cool resource.
I can't believe I didn't know about this. It feels like that's what we're
Well,
doing.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Here's where you do this, here's where you do that. I can connect with this.
But yours is better because of the localness of it, like, and I think yours is probably less expensive. You know, like, as far as like getting 3 made, 12 made of something, right? Versus like this
But
big
I'm saying,
thing.
like, the idea of that, like, I think I would love to see this. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's
what
just
a
a
cool
cool
thing to leave.
Yeah. What were my other? You guys are all like, I think I was thinking maybe everyone would be like, way, like, I don't know, you all seem very mature and like you have your lives together. So, but I was like thinking, I'm like, okay, I wish I would have like, you know, like, what did I say to you earlier? Like, started like a Roth IRA, because I don't have retirement as a small business owner. So like,
No, these are things that I think everybody needs to hear, because no matter what age you are, sometimes, you know, you don't know
Yeah.
this. I'm guilty of that kind of stuff that
Yeah.
I'm learning
So-
later in life.
yeah, so that was like a big thing for me, was like, what do I do with retirement? And like, started a Roth IRA, and like, I have like a high yield savings account now. I didn't even know that existed. Now that I have full-time employee, I can start like a small group health plan. You just need 1 full-time employee, like stuff like that I'm 14 years in, like, still learning, right? But it's just that stuff that you're like, you don't know what you don't know. You know, like, I don't know. Yeah.
Really, I love that you're sharing those things. I had one more question I was going to ask you that was along those lines, and it just fell out of my brain. It was earlier when you first walked in, and you're like, so how are you? And I'm like, oh my God, I just got off of this call, blah, 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 or something. And then you said something, and I remember thinking, oh my God, how did she do that? You said something like, I try not to...
Oh, I said I don't want to win the busy contest.
I don't want to win the busy contest.
Yeah,
that was
it doesn't interest me.
And I was
personally.
like, I think I won the busy. I think I win the busy contest every day. Like, we're completely opposite in that. And I wish that I could figure out how to be less busy every single day and still accomplish as much as you're accomplishing. So, what is your secret? Like, how are you able to do that?
Well, I don't thrive on being busy. So I think it's just a personality thing a little bit too, right? Like, I'm an only child, grew up with my dad, like, a lot of alone time. Just, I don't really thrive around a lot of people. Like, I like to read. So for me, well, everyone likes to read. I mean, but what I was getting at is one of my biggest pleasures would be like, it's noon and I'm gonna read my book. Yeah, and so, but like, it's such a small goal, but when I do it, when I read in the day, like, not just before bed, and then you're like immediately sleep, like, if I read during the day, I feel like I, like, won life, basically. So it's just like these little things that I can, even if it's like a few pages, I'm just like, I feel better. So I don't know, I think it's, maybe therapy has helped too. Maybe that has helped my, like, slowing down.
Step one, I need to go to therapy. But I love that you've done so much. You've been able to stay here for 14 years, build an amazing business that is super successful, that is beautiful, that you just did it, and you've been able to manage your time so well that you still have time for yourself and be happy and content, and you found a way to become an entrepreneur, be your own boss. I mean, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Let's give her a round of applause.
It's a very nice way of putting that. Thank you.
That's what it's all about. You found the secret to life.
Well, okay. Let's not get ahead of ourselves there. But
we all need to go shopping at Bunky Boutique to make sure that, she is supported.
Oh, thank you.
And I know that you are hiring right now, right?
Yes, I am hiring. I'm hiring at my downtown location. Yeah, so anyone that is interested or knows anyone that's interested, yeah. Oh, can I say one thing quick too? I noticed everyone's stuff that I was looking at, all the details were so awesome, and you must really share that. As a boutique owner, when people bring me stuff that they want to potentially sell in my store, just the things of having the own tags, having a prepackaged bag, having a card that states what, hey, made in Arizona, put that on your card, all of that stuff is so, so important. Anything that makes my job selling it easier, or my staff's job who maybe is new or is having a bad day or whatever, and make your product sell itself as much as possible. So I noticed that with everyone. I was just really impressed. So, yeah.
Awesome. So that's a little tip if you're trying to get your stuff in a boutique. If somebody wants to present their items to you to see if it's worthy of your boutique, what would that look like? What kind of protocols do you require?
I usually prefer an email versus a cold walk-in, but I definitely prefer when someone has at least been in before, because how do they even know if it's the right fit for them? And then I feel a little are you just going down a list of shops and you're just copy and pasting? I mean, I've gotten so many emails over the years that are hi Georgianne, I love your shop, and Georgianne owns this shop called Francis. Over so many where I'm oh, funny, you're just copying and pasting, which of course that's how, of course that we're doing that, but maybe pick a field trip day and go in all the stores you want to be in, make a note of something personal, then email that person, I loved X, Y, Z about your store. Here's why I'm a good fit. Just make that extra step is, for me, is so crucial. Another thing that helps is if you're maybe willing to start on consignment, maybe. If you're not willing to do that, that's cool. But if you're hey, if the stuff isn't selling in 2 months, let's swap it out. Let's swap out for something else. No one wants it sitting on the shelf. I get it. So just that flexibility is really nice versus hey, you bought it, bye. Which I get that too, but it's not really good for building a lasting relationship.
Yeah, and that's the challenge for most brands is you have to, if you make it and it doesn't sell in that store and it's on consignment, then you're kind of stuck with it. Or if the store bought it, then they're stuck with it, then they're not going to want to buy it again. So there's this whole issue that we all have with manufacturing batches of stuff, and that's why what we're doing here at Fabric is we're trying to encourage this on-demand manufacturing, not quite on-demand as one at a time, but small drops of personalization, custom print. We have this great printer where you can customize, a design and print just what you want. And if you can get a small pre-order and then just print those as needed. So if somebody put their stuff in your store and it's sold, and then they just make more when it's sold, or they don't have to invest in 500 pieces and then put them in all kinds of different stores. They can just, test the market with a couple of them and then.
Or tell me it's kind of custom for Bunky. Hey, I can print anything on the inside label.
Yep.
Collaborate with me. What do you want? Yeah. And let's toss a cactus. Let's do whatever.
They could put.
And then I'm invested.
Your Arizona heart graphic on their thing for you. That would be even another cool option.
Yeah. So anything that can make kind of it feel like a team effort, and then loyalty goes a long way, right? And then I'd oh, that didn't sell, but I like you, and so let's work to make it. Let's figure out why it didn't sell.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are great pointers. So I hope that was helpful to all of the designers out there. Well, we're going to wrap up now, so I just want to see if there's any questions that anybody might have that maybe you've been thinking about and we didn't get to. Yes. Hold on, let me give you the mic so that the people in the audience.
It's fun to talk in, actually.
Hey. I just wanted to ask you, you'd mentioned that you had a psychology degree. How do you feel like that played into your building your business and your customer base and how you do your research on success or failure?
It's an awesome question.
Did you use your degree?
Yeah, right? I think, having a business downtown Phoenix, there's a lot of unhoused, housing challenged, and like mentally ill people that come in. And so I use that like social work piece just in that. But I think also reading customers, like something that comes naturally to me probably has a little bit to do with that degree, and then doing the domestic violence, sexual assault counseling is, realizing someone has their earbuds in and just, even if they don't have their earbuds in, like they don't want much interaction, and like that's okay. Or this person really does want to interact. Actually, maybe they want to interact too much, and there's other people, and I need to greet them, and then how do I like navigate that elegantly so they don't feel slighted or whatever. So I think working with like a really extreme population that I did in my early 20s just made me better at like navigating people. Yeah.
That was a great question.
Yeah,
I'd love to know if people use their degrees when it's not in fashion.
Right.
So they end up all using it somehow. Yay. Jessica.
Hi, thank you.
I'm going to get really close to you, I'm sorry.
When you are carrying a designer's brand or pieces, do you expect to hear from them? Like, hey, so for example, I'm in a store, and I hadn't heard from the woman for a few weeks, and then I called her, and I was like, hey, I just want to check in. How's it going? She's like, oh my gosh, I need 6 more. Da da da. So do you take it upon yourself to reach out if you're running low, or do you expect your vendor or whatever designer to reach out to you to order more stuff?
If it's top of mind and I've realized we sold that, we need it, I'll usually do it. I'm pretty on top of that. But there has been many times where someone reaches out to me, I'm like, oh, I forgot we sold that. I forgot we even carried it, actually. Like, it sold and then I forgot about it. So I don't think you can go wrong with following up, I mean, even if it's just like an email, I'm like horrible at answering my phone. So but just like an email follow-up, it actually just feels like, oh, that's nice, and in that email you could say like, is anything not selling, or do you have feedback or whatever? Maybe don't ask too many questions, because then I'll like star it for later and be like, oh, that's a lot of questions. But just like 1 or 2 things, then yeah. But I think following up is like so professional and awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
So I have a sister who's in Montana
Oh,
up there
cool.
right now, and my mom lives with her. My mom was, when I was 15, bipolar, found out, and so us 4 girls, her daughters have always taken care of her. But we've always talked about opening a boutique for her that she could run before one day when we lose her, to me, if we ever lost her and she didn't get to do that piece, that would be hard to swallow. Would you ever consider collaborating with Fabric to maybe teach people how to launch a boutique and run one? Because that's one thing we have no idea where to start. I've asked boutique, there's no idea.
So maybe like a class that she could teach? I mean, would you consider being an instructor if we put together a series of classes where you could teach that?
Yeah, I mean, I would. When I opened a store, it was like different as far as how the world works, but I'm literally doing it right now again. And I did it with the airport and with like a move, and yeah, I would totally do that. Yeah.
That would be awesome.
I don't know if there's any resource. I mean, I remember searching like how to open a shop, and like there isn't really like stuff out there about it. Yeah.
That would be a great great next certification that we offer, a series of classes.
And that's awesome about your
Yeah.
sisters and your mom. Like, that's a really, yeah, it's intense, yeah. Yes, that'd be really fun for me.
That'd be great. I'll reach out. Any other questions? Oh, yes. To the handsome fellow in the second row. What are you doing later?
Okay, hello.
Anything you want?
Wait, what? I didn't hear it.
Anything you want?
Oh, well, that was to me. Oh, God. This just got weird.
For the first Fridays, you could have one security at the door and limit the amount of total occupants in the store at once.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
No, absolutely. I mean, you're doing security.
Ryan?
No, it is a good point. And I think when I am staffed, like, I can give it a go. It also sucks in summer, like,
Yeah.
to be open
And to pay a security
and to
person.
pay.
to sit
Yeah,
there,
because
yeah.
it's two, like, then I'm two payrolls for the night. But yeah, no, that's true. Like, limit the
If you
people.
could figure out how to do that in theory, like maybe that's an internship or something for, a student or whatever
Yeah.
to learn the ropes, so they have to help you manage that. That's really
Yeah.
outside the box
Well,
thinking.
and it's a lesson for me in that don't immediately shut down your idea with all the reasons why that wouldn't work, right? Which is like weirdly our instinct, and I almost just was like, no, here's why. But like, that's a fantastic idea. So
Looks
maybe
like
thank
you're
you.
busy next First Friday. All right, any other questions or comments and suggestions? Yes.
Hi, so I am a recent this spring college graduate, studied fashion and business, and now have a full-time job with a local clothing company, which I really love. But I know that my dream is someday to start my own thing, own my own company. The thing that's scary about that is the lack of stability, because with a full-time job, I have a salary, I have things laid out, I have hours, it's all there. So what would you say is your biggest advice for jumping off that ledge, off the deep end, losing the security, that kind of thing? Because that's what I'm apprehensive about, I would say.
Well, I guess my first thought is, do you need to jump off the ledge? Like, can you give yourself 6 months of like, slowly lower yourself down. But and also 6 months of like, man, I'm gonna work my butt off and this is gonna suck, but I'm going to do both at the same time for a period of time. Because I don't know if jumping off the ledge is like necessary, really. I'm not sure. If you do jump off, I don't know. I would have tried to save like 2-3 months of like living expenses, like 100% your expenses, because why give yourself that stress too, for the thrill or the I don't think it's worth it. I really don't. I would just give yourself a time to do both.
You're going to need more than 2 to 3 months,
Yeah,
too.
probably. Yeah.
But I think just lowering yourself off the ledge is the best part. A lot of people, when they start their business, they have their day job. And you just have to have a lot of stamina, because you have to work, like being an entrepreneur is more than a full-time job. So you're working a lot of hours doing it that way. But if you're really into it, then that's an option. That's what I did, so
And you also love your job
And
too.
have
It's
fun
not like you
with it.
hate your job. That part's nice, because that's better, right? Like, yeah.
And if your job is helping you do what you want to do. When I first started my own clothing line, I worked for another clothing line, and I was able to use the resources at that clothing line to help me with my clothing line. They were really laid back about it, and they were like, that scarcity mentality wasn't there. They were like, yeah, sure, use our manufacturing resources, and here, during your lunch, go ahead and work on our computer to work on your thing, so maybe that's
Maybe you could talk to them about it and like tell them what you want to do. But I don't know. You never know. People respond. Could surprise you. But yeah, good luck.
All right, any other questions? Oh, one more. Okay, this will be our last one.
How was your experience during the pandemic as a small business?
Sucked. Totally sucked.
Did you ever open like an online store?
So I had an online store prior to the pandemic. It's never been a significant amount of my business. The majority of my business is at the brick and mortar. But so March 2020, closed the doors until end of June 2020. So April, May, June. So good 3 months. But that entire time I did sell online. And I delivered stuff to save on shipping. So I just, if it was remotely, I live in downtown Phoenix, but if it was remotely close, I would just drive it. I didn't have a lot to do, so I would drive it. I also decided to ride my bike to do close deliveries, and then I would take a picture. Here I am on my bike. And then I offered pickup Monday through Thursday from 12 to 4, so I would just sit at the shop, and then I gave out my cell phone number to everyone, which was backfired in a lot of ways, but and I would just say text me when you're out front, and I just run out and hand the thing. So I did all that, and then but the community really supported me during that time. Actually, business was okay. When it really sucked was July, August, September, once I reopened my doors, but nobody, that high of let's shop local, let's buy, from all these local places, dipped, and it was summer, and summer's the slowest time, so those months were by far the hardest, and I didn't have any employees again, everyone, so it was just kind of it's cyclical, it's the, what is it called, fall summits, when you're hiking and you think you've reached the top, and then you get to the top and you're like, oh my God, there's more. That's how I feel about business sometimes, is it's I thought oh, I have an employee, I'm kind of traveling more, and then back to just every day there by myself, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a metaphor for life in a way, but yeah. So it was hard, but actually it was not as hard as the recession in 2009. That was that was worse, yeah. I know, but
well,
yeah.
Also, I mean, hopefully you got a PPP loan or something like that.
I did get a PPP loan. I made a mistake, and I forgot to count my own owner's draw in my salary, because I did it myself. I didn't have a bookkeeper, my accountant do it, because I was terrified to spend any money on anything. Mm-hmm. So in retrospect, would have had my bookkeeper fill out that paperwork, and but lesson learned, it was just kind of panic mode at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I screwed up mine too.
You did? Yeah. Yeah.
I ended up having to pay a bunch of it back because I did it wrong. I know.
That's worse than not getting it. Oh no.
Yeah, but part of being an entrepreneur, you live and learn.
Thank you all for listening too, by the way. It's really nice.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing. That was amazing. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and we're all going to shop Bunky, and before we shop Bunky, hopefully we're going to shop from the designers that have done a little pop-up tonight, so before you leave tonight, please network with each other, meet each other. This is a room full of people who you could be, bouncing ideas off with, hiring each other, collaborating with, whatever, and, support these designers that are doing all of this, so. Thank you so much. Please come to the next one. The more people that are here, the better, because then we all meet more people that we could be working with. So I appreciate you guys coming to this one, and we'll see you next month, last Thursday of every month at 6 o'clock. All right, thank you.